My dearest Inman, I hope this letter finds you in good spirits. It feels like an eternity since our eyes last met. The days move slower than a prized hog through spring's first mud. But I have been keeping busy. I made a new bonnet, it's rainproof. I even made your favorite hot cross buns. I hope you're enjoying playing soldier with your friends. Finish up soon and come home to me. Forever in your eyes, Ada Monroe. Come home to me.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Bargain Bin review. Today's movie is a 2003 classic, Cold Mountain.
At the dawn of the Civil War, the men of Cold Mountain, North Carolina, rushed to join the Confederate Army. Ada has vowed to wait for Inman, but as the war drags on and letters go unanswered, she must find the will to survive. At the war's end, hearts will be dashed, dreams fulfilled, and the strength of the human spirit tested, but not broken. Rated R.
First and foremost, I want to apologize for how I look. I'm currently filming on location and we only have these really awful fluorescent lights above me. So again, I'm sorry that you're looking at all of this. I'm the Crypt Keeper! Cold Mountain stars Nicole Kidman as Ada Monroe. She plays the daughter of a preacher who's played by Donald Sutherland. She's moving to Cold Mountain, North Carolina, leaving behind her sheltered lifestyle in Charleston. Nicole Kidman's accent was very Southern Belle and very breathy. It didn't feel very natural at all, and that might be because she's from Australia. But Nicole Kidman does a great job of playing a doting daughter who can't quite fend for herself. She does, however, have a complete character transformation throughout the film. And even though her tougher self is more equipped for survival, it comes off a little too forced. Jude Law plays W.P. Inman, a woodworker who's helping to build Ada's father's new church. He's a man of very few words, and the sentences he does speak often have a very odd syntax, and I would assume it's because he's an English actor. It often felt like Jude Law was trying to plan out his next words and accent throughout the film, like it was tough for him to maintain the character. But he does play Inman with a type of quiet toughness that really only comes out when he's pushed, mostly on his journey back to Cold Mountain. Renee Zellweger plays Ruby Thews in a Best Supporting Actress Oscar Award-winning performance. She's a no-nonsense tomboy who's sent to Ada's farm to help her turn her life around. She can do it all, including dispatching a rooster with one hand. Renee gives Ruby both the toughness of a young girl who had to raise herself and the heart and soul of a woman who is ready to help others. I have seen Saturday Night Live and Mad TV make fun of Renee Zellweger's facial movements while she acts, and I never really noticed because I haven't really seen her in much. But after watching this, she really does do some odd facial movements, like... As I was watching this movie, there were tons of supporting roles and cameos from all these different actors. Actors like Donald Sutherland, Giovanni Ribisi, Brandon Gleeson, Natalie Portman, Charlie Hunnam, Jack White, Ray Winston, Cillian Murphy, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. You just never knew who was going to pop up next. Our story begins with Ada Monroe, a fancy belle from Charleston who is moving to Cold Mountain with her preacher father. Soon she crosses paths with Inman, a woodworker, and sparks fly. Well, not really. They share some awkward glances and even more awkward conversations. It felt like the beginning of a possible relationship, but then BAM! The Civil War erupts. Inman is heading off to war, and Ada is just beside herself. Or is she? The two are completely incapable of expressing their feelings to each other. The chemistry just doesn't feel like it's there. Their budding romance feels pruned, And this is where the movie kind of lost me. Ada and Inman are barely in the butterflies in the tummy stage of their relationship. Ada is pouring her soul into love letters, while Inman sits in a trench looking at her tintype, which is like a type of photograph. Now, I'm not saying that this type of love doesn't exist. I'm not that cynical. But it does feel like a massive romanticization of a soldier off to war and his woman waiting at home for him. There are some instances of time jumping while we see what happens to Ada and Inman after they separate. The audience is treated to some montages that are narrated by Ada. In these scenes, Nicole Kidman's breathy accent sounded romantic and whimsical. It felt more fitting in these montages than it did during her normal speaking parts. These occur throughout the movie multiple times, usually when Ada has a life-altering event. To me, this feels a little one-sided because it's always Ada writing these letters and never Inman. For a man that is so in love, he sure doesn't make any effort to show it. Typical. Speaking of Inman, we get to see him in the only battle that is portrayed in this movie. That's mostly because he gets injured and deserts his duty and heads back home to Cold Mountain. During the siege of Petersburg, Virginia, Union troops dug a tunnel under Confederate lines and planted explosives. The resulting explosion created a massive crater, which is why this battle was later dubbed the Battle of the Crater. This bold attack actually backfired on the Union troops because they funneled in too many troops into the crater without defending their flanks, resulting in a fish-in-a-barrel type of situation.
Winning.
While this representation of the battle was panned by historians for historical inaccuracies, a casual viewer like myself didn't mind at all. Actually, it was a fantastically shot sequence. The director Anthony Minghella captured the shock of the Confederate troops and the pure brutality that followed. The opaque cloud of clay dust obscured both the troops and the viewer's vision, giving the whole scene this sense of claustrophobia. Oddly, there wasn't a lot of blood and gore in this barbaric attack. There was just enough to relay injuries. The epicness of the scene continues throughout the entire film. This is one beautifully shot movie. Rural countryside, snowy mountains, muddy trenches. It all felt so real and majestic. Every scene felt like a time capsule. I unfortunately only have the DVD version of Cold Mountain. I imagine these scenes would look amazing on a Blu-ray or a 4K DVD. My only complaint would be how these mountain scenes are very obviously not filmed in Appalachia. As soon as I saw all the pointy peaks, I knew we were no longer in the American South. Those parts were actually filmed in Romania. It's a small inaccurate detail, but it still looked really great. Cold Mountain does have an anti-war theme that runs throughout the film. While many of the side and supporting characters are very eager to go fight the North, our main cast isn't as supportive. The comments the soldiers made about the other side were very dehumanizing. They were convinced that their lifestyles were being threatened by outsiders, and they had to defend their homes. However, there was some dissent and some complaints about trying to save a rich man's slave, which is still the case today. It's always a rich man's war fought by the not-so-rich soldiers. There are two quotes from this movie that really left an impression on me. The first one was said by Inman. He says, "I imagine God is weary of being called down on both sides of an argument." This type of religious paradox always bothered me. Both sides of a conflict usually use religion as a justification for their actions, but both sides are also praying to the same God. The other quote was said by Ruby. She angrily said, "Every piece of this is man's bullshit. They call this war a cloud over the land, but they made the weather, then they stand in the rain and say, 'Shit, it's raining.'" This perfectly encapsulates the way the powerful orchestrate conflict in order to pound the drums of war. Cold Mountain has almost all the components needed to make it a film that's talked about for generations. But the one missing thing is the core reason for the story to continue. This half-baked love story between Ada and Inman just lacks chemistry. It lacks heart. It lacks anything that makes it feel worth fighting for. That doesn't mean it's a boring film. I never once felt bored through the entire 2-hour and 34-minute runtime. Both Ada and Inman have interesting side stories while the viewer waits for their eventual reunion. Especially in Inman's case. Part of me thinks that the movie would have been better if it would focus solely on Inman's journey. However, then we would have missed Ada's growth. And, of course, Ruby. Unfortunately, a lot of these Vignette stories come and go, and they feel inconsequential, though entertaining. And for these reasons, I'm giving the 2003 film Cold Mountain a chilly 6 out of 10. While I do recommend it for reviewing, the movie lacks elements that would have catapulted it to the spotlight of a classic. So, did you see the 2003 movie Cold Mountain? If so, leave me a love letter down in the comments below.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more effervescent content just like this. eternally yours, Gremlin Lord 615. Mwah.